So, Bill, thanks for joining with us. There's been key changes take place in the Rovers coaching setup and the SPFL setup as well in terms of reserve leagues, development leagues. What's the impact of these planned changes where the development league is to be replaced by a new reserve league?
Right, well, it's certainly caused us a bit of a problem in that we've had to have a rethink about how we organise things. Just to look at the context, first of all, the under-20s development squad cost us somewhere in the region of £100,000 plus each season. Now that there's a reserve league, which means there will be young players and older, more experienced players in it, it means that we can't really afford to have as big a development squad as we had before. So what we've done is we've amalgamated it into the one squad, and that's why some of the young players are now finding themselves, they'll be training with the senior players every day, and they'll be very much part of the first team, if you like, but also having the opportunity to play in the new, what's it called, the National Reserve League 2, it's called. So they will have the opportunity to play in that. So it has meant that losing a coach was probably the most important thing, because Craig obviously had brought the boys on very well. Kevin, as part of his responsibilities, Kevin Cuthbert, will be first team coach, but he will also take a special interest in the youth development as well. And I've asked him that today when he was signing his contract, and he's agreed with that.
Okay, fair enough. So picking up on one of the things you just said there, the number of younger players will be smaller. However, looking at the ones that have signed already, you know, James Berry, Jamie Watson and Ryan Stevenson, how exciting is it for them to be potentially more involved going forward? And can you give any indication on how many more younger players will join them?
Right, well, I did the actual signing of James Berry, and if you'd seen his face, the smile on his face, he's so proud, you know, as a Kirkcaldy lad to sign for his local team. And I felt there was a real sort of enthusiasm there. So if the rest of them can show that enthusiasm, then that will be tremendous, really, for us. On the younger ones, of course, we've also got Ewan Valentine, who's just finishing his modern apprenticeship, so he's a bit younger, but he will train with the first team squad as well. So even although they're younger, they'll still get the opportunity to train. There's one or two others, there's a couple of them that have been injured recently, and we're not sure what's going to happen with them yet. But as soon as they're fit again and willing to play, wanting to play, again it'll be all as part of the one squad. So what we're doing is we're keeping the modern apprenticeship scheme going for the younger players to attract them. There'll be a bit of a pause this season for financial reasons, and also because of this reorganisation hitting us. But we will be recruiting. We're talking to Fife College in order to increase the amount of educational content. Yes, they're footballers, but as everybody knows, a number of these boys don't make it. And so we want them to have a professional, some kind of qualification behind them. So we're doing that, and we're staying in membership of the Fife Elite. So we will have a stream of boys coming through from that, and they're running an under-18 team this next season, and we'll be able to call on some of them. And in fact, we registered anyway, one of their players last week, who's an under-17 or 17-year-old goalkeeper. So there will still be plenty of young players coming through. People shouldn't get the idea that because we've amalgamated the squads, that there's going to be no feeder. There will be plenty of that.
And that sort of dovetails nicely into my next question. You know, the Player Development Fund, which was set up to help fund the upkeep, if you like, of these younger players. There would be some that would question whether that is still required if we have no development league. But as you started to say there in your last answer, there is still a need for those contributions to continue.
Definitely. I mean, we'll still have a lot of young players around the place, no doubt about that, and we'll be bringing new ones in. I'll just say a couple of things about that, maybe. I can assure people that the development squad fund is kept separate in the accounts of Raith Rovers Football Club. and we make sure that that is used for that. And as I say, last year it cost us over £100,000. The amount that comes in, although it's much appreciated each month, is something like £1,200. So there's a huge gap there, and you know, we're continuing to fund to make sure we've got young players. The second thing I'd say about that as well is that although I am now in the glorious position of being the chairman, I've been very much involved, obviously, working with Craig over the past season, and my intention is to retain the role of looking after youth development in the club. I'm very keen on it, very enthusiastic about it, and so I will be looking after that personally in the seasons to come.
Yeah, it's good to have that continuity. You know, I mean, too much change can be seen as a negative thing.
Yeah. Well, Tom Phillips did a marvellous job with the boys in the first year working with Craig. I hope that I've been able to continue some of that good work that Tom did, and rather than have another chop and change, I think it's important that I stay with youth development.
Yeah. And looking at the bigger picture, manager Barry Smith and assistant manager Kevin Cuthbert, they pretty much, since the last season ended, the retention of current players and the recruitment of new players kicked off almost straight away. Quick word from you about the efforts they've been putting in to enhance and improve the squad.
Yeah, well, they've been doing very well, I think. I mean, it looked a wee bit slow at the end of the season, I think. People wondered what was going on. But we've now signed the club captain again, Kyle Benedictus. We've signed Ian Davidson. We've signed Ewan Murray, who were three of the stalwarts of our defence last year. Okay, we're a bit disappointed that it looks as if maybe Scott Robertson might be moving on because he's looking to go part-time. And one or two others that were a wee bit disappointed, who were offered contracts and have not really responded positively. But in addition to that, there's one or two of the young boys, of course, coming up. Young Mr. Watson, for example, is a very good player. And this is a make-or-break season, I would say, for him, as it is for Dave Mackay. And Dave Mackay is there and thereabouts and can come through this season, I hope. So that's solid. We've just signed, of course, today a new goalkeeper, who is a very good goalkeeper. He's got lots of history and he's played a lot of games. And so we're very hopeful that he'll fit in well with the defence that we've got. Midfield and up front is where we're looking at the moment. But we've got a new forward on his way from Australia. And we've retained Louis Vaughan, obviously, for the second year of his contract, and we hope that Louis will be a good player again next. And we've still got Mr. Buchanan, who we hope will regain his form this season. So there are players there who are the nucleus of a team. I would reckon at the moment we're maybe 3 players short of having a full squad. And sometimes, you know, it's not best to be in early in the transfer window. Sometimes if you're a wee bit more cautious and wait and see, there's a number of good players that actually don't find a club until very late on in the transfer window. And we're still hopeful of picking up a couple of good players from that over the next couple of weeks.
Good. Well, we look forward to seeing progress on that front. Thanks for your time, Bill.
Okay.
And we'll speak to you soon.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks.